friends, welcome to my channel 5 Minutes History. The National Intelligence Agency of Israel, Mossad, has undertaken many thrilling and sensational operations around the world that has earned it the title of the most feared and professional team of spies which can destroy its enemy no matter where they are. In this video, let's check out one of such daring and nail-biting episode where Mossad proved to the world why they are called the best. On 27 June 1976, Air France Flight 139 departed for Paris from Tel Aviv, Israel, carrying 12 crew and 246 mainly Jewish passengers. The plane made a brief stop at Athens, Greece, where it picked up an additional 58 passengers. Just after the plane left the runway at 12:30 p.m., it was hijacked by 4 terrorists, 2 Palestinians belonging to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine and 2 Germans from the German Revolutionary Cells, who had boarded the flight at Athens. The hijackers diverted the flight to Benghazi, Libya, where it was held on the ground for 7 hours for refueling. The plane left Benghazi Airport and at 3:15 p.m. on 28th June, more than 24 hours after the flight's original departure, it arrived at Entebbe Airport in Uganda, a landlocked country in East Africa then run by the ruthless dictator Idi Amin. The Ugandan government supported the hijackers, and Amin, who was informed of the hijacking from the beginning, personally welcomed them. Amin placed his troops into the plane and moved all hostages to an old terminal building. The hijackers then separated all Israeli and non-Israeli Jews from the larger group and forced them into a separate room. Over the following 2 days, most of the non-Israeli hostages were released and flown out to Paris. 94 mainly Jewish passengers, along with 12-member Air France crew, remained as hostages and were threatened with death. The hijackers soon made their demands: release of 53 Palestinian terrorists, 40 of whom were prisoners in Israel, and a ransom of $5 million. They declared that if these demands were not met, they would begin to kill hostages from 1st of July. Israeli nation was shocked. Israeli government tried to secure the release of hostages using diplomatic channels, but to no success. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Defense Minister Shimon Peres finally took the decision not to give in to hijackers' threats and launch a military operation. On 1st July 1976, the day hijackers' deadline came to an end, Israeli government offered to negotiate with the terrorists, just to extend the deadline to 4th July and provide her forces enough time to prepare. During this time, Mossad operatives built an accurate picture of the whereabouts of the hostages, the number of hijackers, and the involvement of the Ugandan troops, based on information from the released hostages in Paris. They also gathered information from Israeli construction firms that had built the airport terminal at Entebbe, where the hostages were held. While planning the military operation, Mossad even erected a partial replica of the airport terminal with the assistance of the civilians who had helped build the original. On the evening of 3rd July 1976, Operation Entebbe, also called Operation Thunderbolt, was launched. 4 Israeli C-130 Hercules, packed with about 100 IDF personnel, secretly flew to Entebbe Airport in Uganda. A black Mercedes that looked like President Idi Amin's vehicle and Land Rovers that usually accompanied Amin's Mercedes were brought along. Disguised as commercial plane, the first Hercules landed at the airport around midnight. As the plane landed, the Land Rovers and the limousine, packed with the Israeli commandos, drove out in the same fashion as Amin's motorcade. As they approached the terminal, 2 Ugandan guards, aware that Idi Amin had recently purchased a white Mercedes, ordered the vehicles to stop. They were immediately shot dead with silenced pistols. The assault team then quickly approached the terminal and opened fire on Palestinian terrorists. Meanwhile, the other 3 Hercules, carrying Soviet-style armored vehicles to fight off any Ugandan counterattack, also landed. Entering the terminal, the Israeli commandos alerted the hostages to stay down in both Hebrew and English. A massive exchange of fire broke out in which all terrorists were eliminated, along with a number of Ugandan army soldiers who were aiding them. At least 5 Israeli commandos were wounded, and the Israeli unit commander, Yonatan Netanyahu, was killed in the gunfight. 3 hostages also lost their lives in the crossfire. The Israeli forces then destroyed 11 Soviet-built MiG-17 and MiG-21 fighters of the Ugandan Air Force on the ground at the airport to prevent them from pursuing the assault team. The hostages were then quickly loaded into the aircrafts, which took off immediately for Israel. The entire operation lasted for 53 minutes, of which the assault lasted only 30 minutes. Spontaneous celebrations broke out all over Israel as the news of the rescue spread. Mossad and IDF had done the impossible.